shared this incredible transformation of our client Anita recently. At the age of 65, she dropped 22 pounds of body fat in 6 weeks. Now, I had a lot of people ask me how could they achieve something similar. So I wanted to share the reality of this journey, what we did and how we achieved success. There were quite a few DMs of shock that a 65-year-old could achieve this goal. Maybe because culturally we have this dated view that when we hit a certain age, we shouldn't give as much care and attention to these types of health initiatives. That by this age, we are truly set in our ways, and it would be almost pointless to overcome certain behaviors. But this mindset needs to be challenged because the quality you can add to your life is as great as the quantity of life you can add through making health a priority. So this is Anita before we started. Let's start from the start. The initial meeting where we talked about the overarching goals that she wished to achieve from her journey. I know the time frame of these results were quite shocking to most people, but when you see how we set out her journey, you will see what we did to make this happen and how it integrated into her life. Look, I will literally walk you through the entire process and show you all of this today. From the sessions, the phases, the nutrition, and even the lifestyle adaptations that we made. But let's set the scene. When we first spoke, I could sense a great deal of anguish around achieving success in this journey. The desire to make this a reality had made what should have been an enjoyable process a stressful one, an energy drain, and one that came with a cascade of previous failures. Human nature tends to protect us from failure. It has a way of protecting us from that feeling of falling short. And in many ways, it can stop you from even entertaining ideas that you could ever be successful in this goal. And thus, the fear of failure stops you from pursuing the things you want the most. Because in your mind, you think you've already tried it all. You've already tried everything. So what's the point and why put yourself through it again? Anita's version of trying it all included crash diets, meal replacements, very high intensity training that was destined to end in injury, and potentially damaging supplementation. In a bid to achieve the external goal of weight loss, it's very easy to put the internal at risk. If you are guided by the scales, it becomes so much easier to forget how it feels to be healthy, happy, energetic, to sleep well, to not feel bloated or uncomfortable after eating, or even have a better relationship with food. Most of Anita's previous attempts had a short-term feel about them. They gave quick results, but those results never lasted. And invariably, she would end up heavier after them compared to when she started. The changes involved were too harsh to be sustainable, and they didn't integrate into her lifestyle or her needs. Anita isn't a bodybuilder. She's not going to sit down and eat the same bland and boring foods day in and day out. This wasn't her life. It was part of her life. And as such, it needed to involve meals out with friends, eating nourishing foods that she enjoyed each day, and working around her capabilities. By the way, Anita's not alone with this phenomenon of trying it all, of trying all these different all or nothing approaches, these really extreme style diets, or even meal replacements. And I speak to females every single day, whether it be clients, whether it be people dropping me messages, or even people jumping on the phone and having consultations. There's this common theme that occurs where women have started their diets in their early 20s, maybe at university, or they dieted harder before they got married, or they dieted after having children. And then they've been on and off again repeatedly with dieting forever after. In reality, you should only ever have one transformation. And that transformation should last forever. So we really need to break that on and off diet cycle. To really help you understand where to start with this, I'm going to show you exactly how we worked on Anita's forever transformation. I sat down with Anita and we talked at length about her vision for herself. And this went beyond how she wanted to look or the weight that she wanted to lose. We discussed how she wanted to feel in life, at work, at home, with her family, and as a person. There is a huge difference between a number on a scale and living with clarity, energy, and purpose. And we talked about something that she hadn't been able to do for a very long time. That was see herself as a priority in her own life, rather than a resource or a tool to help other people. I don't think that sentence did the magnitude of this realization justice. We found a way to get Anita to see herself as a priority in her own mind and life. It didn't take long to see that she had an altruistic nature, constantly looking to give her time, energy, and herself to others to support their needs before her own. That is such a beautiful trait until it becomes damaging, till you are giving more than you have to give, and eventually something breaks. By working on this concept, Anita was able to find the room, not only in her diary, but also in her mind, to take on the education I provided around her nutrition, exercise, lifestyle habits, and health. She was able to find the time to learn about foods, which ones worked for her, which ones didn't, which ones nourished her, and even how to work towards a calorie goal. When we start a journey like this, there can be a huge element of overwhelm. Imagine trying to change the habits of a lifetime in 1 week. Instead, we didn't rush into the process. We sat back and we just gathered data, we gathered information, we assessed habits and behaviors. Then we made the move towards fixing the needle movers first, before manipulating other variables to push her results forwards. Needle movers for Anita were outlined very early on. It was the first thing that we did, in fact. And the needle movers were, in fact, committing time to the diary for key tasks, such as exercise, cooking, learning about food, when she was going to eat, when she was going to write things down in a diary, even when she was going to go to bed. Really getting an understanding of everything that Anita wanted to achieve and really delving into the things that she tried in the past and her history. It was clear that she actually had quite a severe injury at one point. We weren't sure of the actual cause of the injury, so I referred her to my injury rehab specialist. Henry then had an online consultation with Anita and devised a program for her that she could follow in her own time, which was particularly important because we needed to build a strong body, a bulletproof body that could handle the increase in intensity as she progressed through the program. This was the view of her initial few weeks where we were still learning information about Anita. I put together some aerobic conditioning work and she worked with Henry through the injury rehab phase. When we were ready to go and she'd built a bit of a foundation around her health, that's when we moved into the actual training program. So this is the first 4-week phase. The beauty of this was the simplicity. We recognized that Anita needed work on her aerobic health. So that is what we prioritized. The clues from this came in the fact that her resting heart rate was up, her digestion needed work, she needed to build stress resilience, and there were issues around sleep. So with Anita committing to at least 4 days a week for exercise, so I developed this program so that she could space the workouts through the week and have a mixture of both aerobic conditioning as well as some work that would help strengthen her, which was crucial to get an awareness of her body so she could understand how to move it properly and also allow the training plan to progress over time. The way I devised this program allowed her to recover between sessions. It was amazing to see Anita progress through the phases and her performance improve from one phase to the next. If I'd given her this type of conditioning work to do at the very start, there's absolutely no way she would have made it through. In fact, at the beginning of her program, after 20 minutes of work, Anita was feeling tired and struggled. But by the end of month 1, her cardiovascular fitness, her stamina, performance, and recovery were unrecognizable. And this was perfect for the next steps. So we built in more resistance work, we upped the intensity, and then she progressed dramatically. We didn't rush the process, and that is the key. We built the foundation first. And of course, as she improved her performance, we actually increased the amount of food that she was consuming. Remember, this is somebody that has only ever known restriction, that has only ever known pulling things back, going on low carb diets, having less and less food as she looks to lose more and more weight. It was a real shock to Anita when I started pushing more food towards her. So it took a great deal of education to help Anita understand the importance of eating more calories and carbohydrates as she progressed through this process. I actually remember quite early on during the program, there was a little bit of fear that Anita had because she realized that Her friends wanted to get together and they wanted to go to a restaurant, and it was her favorite Indian restaurant. Again, Anita's mindset was like, I won't go. I shouldn't eat that sort of food. It's not healthy. It's not going to fit in with what I want to achieve. So I won't go. But even that required education because that isn't sustainable. Of course, you're going to socialize. Of course, you're going to go to restaurants. So it's more important to put Anita into that situation so that she knew how to handle it. We even got to the point during this process that she was able to go to these favorite restaurants of hers, and she was able to go with friends and then confidently choose her favorite dishes from the menu. The most important thing about this was food didn't have control over her anymore. She didn't have to feel guilty about consuming the foods that she enjoyed. And she chose the foods that she wanted to eat. She enjoyed it and she continued to progress that week. Whenever somebody joins a program like this or even inquires into this program, I'm always asked the same questions. Is there a meal plan and is there a training plan? And of course, there's going to be support and education and coaching around these things. But what was really, really important is that we developed a really clear lifestyle approach that supported her ability to get a good night's sleep and manage the stress of being a business owner with a ton of responsibilities in the home and outside of it too. From setting up optimal sleep environments to building in hobbies through her evenings. It isn't that we achieved the perfect program straight away and it all fell into place. Throughout the program, there was almost daily communication, voice notes, screen shares, and our weekly coaching calls. This is an example of a video that I provided to Anita to really give her an understanding as to why we weren't just pulling calories back all the time, why we were actually looking to feed her performance and make her feel more energetic, improve her cognition, and improve her performance. By being open, Anita was able to share her thoughts without feeling guilty, without feeling judged, and I was able to provide education. We slowly achieved a goal of autonomy, where Anita felt confident in adapting her own nutrition, understanding the importance of nutrition and the power behind it. Even her training and lifestyle, she started to adapt to her needs, which for me meant she was able to achieve this goal more sustainably. Anita's results were extraordinary. She is an example of someone who is willing to commit herself to a goal wholeheartedly and follow through. She made mistakes, but she learned and grew from them. Through a controlled and measured approach, she saw incredible success. There was no rush to the finish line, but through achieving smaller daily objectives specific to her needs, she saw the changes she wished to see. Ignore the time frame in which Anita achieved this success. Ignore the timeframes for which Anita achieved this success, and remember that speed of a transformation is relative to the action that you take. The more that you do, the quicker you learn, the faster you apply changes, and the more responsibility you take over this journey, the greater the adaptation. But remember, what comes into your life may be very, very different from what comes into somebody else's life. If you've got a young family, if you've got a career, if you're the go-to person for everybody else's needs, it's likely that you're going to have to overcome the thought process of putting everybody else before you. And that is not as easy as it sounds. So for Anita, onwards and upwards, please keep inspiring.